Hi YouTube! For today's vlog I am doing a video response for the Landon Austin Epic survey. Just for a change of pace, I thought I would do one of these surveys instead of just talking about whatever comes to my head. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get started. First question is phone or text? And to be perfectly honest, with my phone, I actually use it mostly for email and for browsing the web and checking up on stuff and using it with the GPS and maps. I don't call or text very much at all. I tend to communicate mostly, like I said, through email. I chat a lot. I'll do Facebook chat on it, which I guess is kind of like texting. So I guess maybe if I'm going to do anything, I'm probably going to do texting more than calling. Unless, of course, it's for business. For my business stuff, obviously, I do mostly calls. So anyway, that's just kind of where I'm at. Least favorite subject in school, for me, that had to be gym class. I absolutely hated gym class because I sucked so much at it. Plus I kept spraining my ankle all the time, and I was clumsy, and I remember we had one time, I think it was in second grade, and they tried to make me do gymnastics, and I had to like go on the rings and go upside down, and I basically lost my lunch, and so I've just got tons of really bad memories from gym class, and it was the one class I could not get an A in no matter what. I was able to get A's in every other class, but not gym class, and it really ruined my GPA and really pissed me off, basically. So anyway, next question. Favorite memory from when I was 13. This actually ties into the last question on the survey. So I'll say this. When I was 13, it was 1985. So end of 7th grade, beginning of 8th grade for me. And in 8th grade is when I started crushing really heavily on a guy. And I'll talk more about that for the last question. As a favorite game when I was a kid. So I absolutely loved Monopoly. Unfortunately, nobody else in my family really enjoyed it, and so very often I would play it by myself. I would just play against myself, which is kind of sad and pathetic sounding, but I just love the game so much, and I love playing it way more than anybody else would ever have time to play with me. And I didn't really have a lot of friends my age, and I didn't have any siblings. At least none that I knew of at the time, and long story there. So I just kind of played Monopoly a lot. With my family, we did play a couple of games. One was called Rummy Fun, which I think nowadays it's called Rummy Cube, but it's the same game. You get a bunch of tiles that you put on a board similar to Scrabble, except it's all numbers, and you make patterns with the numbers and things. It's a lot like Scrabble, except that there's not a board that you put the tiles on. You just kind of stick them out on the table. And that was kind of fun. And then another game we played a lot was called Mensch Ärger dich nicht, which is a German game. Although, to be perfectly honest, it's almost identical to Parcheesi. So if you're at all familiar with Parcheesi, it's very much like that, except you have only 4 players, not up to 6 that you can play with. So there's only 4 places you can go home with. Otherwise, it's pretty much identical in terms of rules and how it's played. Alright, next question. What scared you most when you were young? I have this enormous phobia for bees and for hypodermic needles. So the two things that scared me the most as a kid still freak me out today, although I'm obviously more mature in my approach to them. But getting shots or blood drawn, etc. I was terrified of that. I still remember my grandmother bringing me to the doctor one time for my inoculations, and I was like wrapped myself around the railing going up the stairs to his office, and I would not let go. She needed to get the nurse to come down and help pry me loose to get me up there. And then of course anytime I saw a bee, bumblebee, whatever, didn't matter, I screamed and ran as fast as I could away from the thing. So I obviously I don't do either of those now. I take my shots maturely, and I don't run away from bees screaming like I did. But they still scare me. So And then final question, the first crush. So as I mentioned, when I was 13, I kind of started having my first real serious crush on a guy. I had other little boyfriend, girlfriend kind of things with kids when I was like in kindergarten, first grade, where I'd hold hands with a boy, but it was not at all the same as when I started to seriously crush once I hit puberty. Was a completely different emotional reaction there. And this one boy in 8th grade, I obviously had known him for several years before that, but puberty hit and all of a sudden I noticed how absolutely adorably cute he was, and the fact that he was the only boy in class who hadn't really seriously teased me, bullied me, or beat me up, and so I immediately fell, head over heels in love with him. And I actually contrived a way of getting to be able to sit next to him in class by convincing the teacher that if I sat next to any other boy in class, we would fight, and if I sat next to any other girl in class, we would talk too much. But if I got to sit next to him, there would be peace, basically. So, and my teacher bought it. I mean, I'm sure he knew that I was crushing on the guy, and he actually let me get away with it, which was really cool. So, anyway, so that was my first crush. So Landon, thank you so much for asking these questions, and to the rest of my vlog viewers, until next time, bye.